Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's July 16th, believe it or not, summer's halfway over. Steve, welcome.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good week.
Yep.
And we have a lot to talk about once again today. So, what would you like to lead with, big fella?
Well, let's talk about it. Or first of all, our first segment is sponsored by Coriano Trucking. Can't thank them enough for being a sponsor of our show, and it's great to have them, and I think they're going to be with us for a long time.
I do too. Thank you, Guy.
So as we move on to our first topic, how could it not be Wimbledon?
It has to be Wimbledon.
It really was just, and we kind of joked about it. I said this could be a 5-hour marathon, and damn well it was what?
2 minutes off, I think.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah,
minutes.
something like that. Yep.
And we had talked last week on our predictions, and I picked Djokovic and you picked Federer. They were so evenly matched, and I really think Roger Federer, after that performance, once again, kind of gets lost in the icons of the greatest athletes out there. And I'm just talking, like a Wayne Gretzky, a Babe Ruth, anybody.
Well, listen, I think he's certainly he's got 20 majors.
He's the Tiger Woods of tennis, I guess, is the best analogy I can come up with.
And the
But
Jack
doesn't
of
get
golf?
the adulation of a Tiger Woods.
I don't know, but he's certainly got the fan base.
In the
and
tennis community, unquestioned, he is well recognized as if not the greatest player of all time. I'm just talking in general terms. I just don't
I'm
think
with you.
I don't think the masses out there really appreciate what greatness you're watching, and that was on full display Sunday morning.
I think I agree with you now. You know what? You're absolutely right. He doesn't get his just due in the overall sports umbrella kind of thing.
And he's not the type that is out and about and look at me, look at me. He just goes about his business. He loves tennis, has a nice family. They kept cutting over to his family in the stands.
Yep.
He's from Switzerland. He's a good guy. After the match, he couldn't have been more gracious, and he was so bummed that, obviously he didn't win that match. He gave it everything he had at age 37, about to be 38. Couldn't be more impressed with him.
And listen, you got to tip your hat to Djokovic. Survived 2 championship points, and came back, and it was I don't get this whole crazy scoring thing now with the fifth
With
set
the tiebreaker,
tiebreaker.
right?
But he just kept battling back, and I was watching in the second set. He looked like he was waning a little bit, like he was fatigued or something. And even McEnroe said, this guy's running out of gas, kind of thing, and he didn't.
No, he did not. And like you said, those 2 championship points that he was on the verge of losing the match, and he came back. One game he was down 40-15, came back, kept staving off Federer. It was such a great back and forth match.
Oh my goodness!
It was just great TV. It evoked memories, really, of Connors and McEnroe and Borg and things like that. And I really think that was a great day for Wimbledon. It was hot out. Again, it starts at 9 in the morning on Sunday. You have a cup of coffee. You read your newspaper.
And you expect it to be over by noon.
Right, you
or
expect to
somebody
be
might-
golfing by noon, like you said. But no, this thing was an epic match.
It really was.
It
really was.
It was just fantastic, and so we just wanted to lead with that and acknowledge what a great match we saw.
And tip our hat to Djokovic for being a Wimbledon champion. It's his 5th one.
That's his 5th one, and he's right on the heels too of Federer. So Federer's got 20, Roger's going to be 38, Djokovic is now 32. Right?
Yep.
And he's underrated too. He's not a publicity-seeking guy. He just goes about his business. But he really, if he stays healthy, there's a solid chance he winds up with 20, 23, maybe.
Oh God,
22.
we never thought that somebody was going to even beat Sampras's record. I mean, that's how dominant he was.
That's right.
And now we got these three guys, and you got to
Yeah,
call them the
Nadal's
big
right
three.
in there too.
You know?
Right.
Do not dismiss him at
Yeah,
all.
Right.
It was great. It
Yeah.
really was one of the great tennis matches of all time. And on the women's side, hey, Simona Halep really took it to Serena Williams.
The Romanian Ceausescu, that was some dictator. So I think that is the first woman from Romania, I think, to win a major tennis championship. I think I saw that.
I could not confirm or
But
deny
I'm
that.
pretty sure on that. We'll do our fact checking. If anybody questions that, send us an email, sports with mono and mono at gmail. Okay?
You know, and let's just talk about that for a second. You know, after that U.S. Open, Serena Williams kind of a meltdown, I think it was, and yeah, she rectified it and
Took
apologized
time,
to
but
Osaki
she did.
and so forth. But you know, I think that soured a lot of people on her, and you know, she's been so dominant for so long, probably the greatest women's tennis player of all time.
Well, I was just going to bring up the fact that if she had won on Saturday, I think that final was, she would have tied Margaret Court. Margaret Court's got 23 for the women's side.
Yep.
So I would say this probably fuels her a little bit more. She's always dominant in the U.S. Open. So I would think Serena, because of this loss, I wouldn't be surprised if she really kicks ass in the U.S. Open, brings the title on that, and then maybe packs it in.
All right.
Maybe. I mean, she's a mother now, but she has been a completely dominant tennis player for
Yeah.
a long time.
But
so.
I'm glad that she came around and sent this apology thing and rectified that situation, because we talked about it on our show after it happened. It totally overshadowed the win from Osaki in the U.S. Open, and it was a shame because the kid is just adorable.
Right.
I mean,
She's actually was the number one ranked tennis player right now. I mean,
Right.
she got upset early in Wimbledon, but you're going to be hearing a lot from her going
Yeah.
forward. That's for sure.
But congratulations to Simona Halep too, and thanks to Djokovic and Federer for putting on a show that is hard to imagine.
Epic.
Epic.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about what's coming up at Royal Portrush.
In Northern Ireland, across the pond, if you will, for the Open Championship, the final major of the golf year.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny, I guess? Or, I don't know, time flies. We're just talking about the Masters. So the four majors, right? So with the new format, normally
Yeah.
we wait for the PGA
Yeah.
towards early
September.
September, and that conflicts with the NFL season. So what are your thoughts about the match coming up? What do you like?
Well, listen, I think that obviously the favorite, this is his hometown, you know, kind of thing. Rory McIlroy.
I would say Rory would probably be the homegrown favorite.
He's the favorite to win it based on DraftKings and all these Vegas odds makers, whatever.
The book.
You think that's the right pick? Is this his time to win the British Open?
Well, doing a little homework on this, just a little bit, I caught something I thought was fascinating. So Brooks Koepka is his caddy for the tour this tournament.
Local guy.
Local guy, like when I say local, about 3 blocks away from the course, and he's going to be manning his bag. And we know he's all about majors, man. And you can bet that Brooks has been out there practicing that course, and you know, especially what happened in the U.S. Open, losing it by you know, a hair. Gave it everything he had. We talked
Yep.
about it, and
It makes him hungrier.
I
right?
think it makes him hungrier, and I'm going to go with Brooks.
Okay.
You can't go wrong with going with Brooks. So,
Well, listen, I'm not going out on a limb here, but I'm going to say this is going to be a Justin Rose moment. I like him to bounce back because he's been knocking on the door. He was number one last year and so forth, and you know it's across the pond. And
You're not going to go with Phil Mickelson, who's been fasting for the last 15 days.
Oh, he looks downright svelte. Yeah, right.
His man boobs have subsided for the tournament. So.
Yeah, not by much. Not by much.
But, Mickelson at least is trying to get back into shape. Obviously, the clock's running out on him. I think he just turned 49, if I'm not mistaken, or is about to.
Yeah, he's up there.
48, definitely.
Yeah, 48.
So I don't want to discount that. He's won the Open before. I just wanted to mention that. Again, it's Phil. He's on the downside. What are your thoughts on Tiger Woods? He's been resting. And the thing is also about this Open, this is the first time in 68 years that the Open's going to be back at this venue. So we can say for certainty that none of these golfers have played a major championship at this course in their careers.
Right.
But I think Tiger, you can never discount this guy. We'll see how he feels. And
I don't know.
early on.
I did see an interview with him. I think he said, he put all of his energy into winning that Masters.
Okay.
And he may be running out of gas at this point in time, and playing over there is, the big time difference and so forth. I'm going to go with a sleeper here. I've always thought this guy was on the verge, but I'm gonna say Tommy Fleetwood could finish in the top 5, if not win this.
That's a very good pick, right? Who ever heard of Tommy Fleetwood maybe 3 years ago? Nobody, right? And who did he look like? He looked like, remember the old magician Dan Henning, right? So he's got this long hair, right? Blah blah blah.
Everything but the mustache, right?
Right. But this guy, to your point, he has been in contention in majors, right? And he's been over, in the United States playing great golf.
Yeah.
And now that he's going back to, his side of the pond, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
That's a very good sleeper pick.
Well, we can't wait. This is great. It goes on early in the morning. It's just like Wimbledon. It's great.
Yep.
It's great. Can't wait for it.
All right, so that's coming up. Starts Thursday.
Does.
And we'll talk about it on the next show, no
We
doubt.
certainly shall. So, our next segment is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and as we mentioned on the Coriano Trucking, Lynch has been with us the whole time, and we thank him for his continued sponsorship of our show.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
So let's move on. There's just a couple of things I wanted to bring up. We're getting close to the NFL season, right?
We are. Training camp should open in a week or two.
I know, about a week or so, right?
Yeah.
And it's just this one thing that's been driving me crazy, like with this holding out thing. Melvin Gordon. When did he get baptized as one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL? His first 3 years were horrible.
He had a great year. Fantasy guys out there know that this guy's a solid guy. I guess he's coming in to the end of the rookie deal would be my guess.
Right, and he's only scheduled to make like $7 million next year, and that's not enough for this guy?
Well, no.
And he's going to sit, I hope they do what the Steelers did with Bell and say, hey, forget it. You're not getting that money. You're under contract here.
We'll see. But he's definitely going to hold out. He's just announced that he's going to do it. But to your point, we'll see what the Chargers do, if they hold firm or cave.
But if they cave, it's going to drive me crazy.
But then
this holding out thing, setting a precedent.
Well, it's now leading to Ezekiel Elliott. Is you can bet the farm. So the Cowboys are in the position here where they got to re-sign 3 important players, and there's only X amount of dough to go around.
And what's Zeke in his final year?
Zeke has one more year before, so he's under contract. Okay.
Okay.
But the point for the Cowboys is, and this is the debate, which is going to get a little dicey because there's people out there that don't think Dak Prescott would be worth $30 million. I do. You know why? Because it's the most important position on any football team in the NFL, the quarterback. So he's number 1 in line. He's got to get re-signed. They're on the verge of it. I think it'll be done in a matter of a few weeks.
But do you really think he's a $30 million
It doesn't matter.
Or is it a matter of if we don't sign this guy, we got to start all over again.
That's part of it as well. So
You know.
I'm a Dak fan, and a lot of people know I'm a Cowboy fan my whole life.
I don't
okay?
dismiss him as a talented guy, but is he on the Russell Wilson level kind
We'll
of
see.
thing?
He's coming into, I guess this is Dak's 5th year probably by now.
Yep.
And it's the most important position in football. It has to be addressed. So Ezekiel Elliott obviously can't get out of his own way off the field. So what do you think is going to happen? Now he reads that Ingram is holding out. Of course,
Gordon.
or Melvin Gordon. Of course he's going to hold out. You can bet the farm on this.
I'm sure it's going to happen.
So I think they're supposed to report July 26th, knowing Elliott. Don't be surprised he holds out, and then that's going to cause a chasm in Dallas. So, but to your point, it happens every year. Guys hold out, and what can you say? It's part of doing business in the NFL.
I know, but at
The
least,
money's not guaranteed, so I think a lot of that has to do.
well, that's
I want that money up front.
but that's changed a lot since over the past couple of years.
But
They're giving these guys guaranteed money.
Yeah, but not in comparison what we've been talking about the last 2 weeks. These the NBA guys signing these ridiculous moneyed contracts, supermax deals.
Oh my God.
So the NFL, I would say the average is still 3.5 years or something is the average
Lifespan.
of your career.
Yeah.
So I can see if you're going to hold out, you want that money up front, and I think that's really at the root of everything when it comes to that.
All right. Well, what else do you see in the NFL? I mean, we still got to consider the Patriots the favorite, or every year they say, this is the year Brady crashes into the wall, and, and then he doesn't.
Well, this is actually the first year that the really Cleveland Browns are going to be relevant, right? They've had 20 years or 15 to 20 years to get it right. It's been a disaster with the management and
But did they
picks.
make all this right enough for them to be a favorite in the
Well,
AFC? 1 year we got a new head coach, you got a good quarterback. Probably the franchise guy going
I hate
forward.
to say it, but Odell's an impactful player. I think John Dorsey, their president, GM, I like this guy. I think his moves have been solid.
I think he's done a great job.
So
Great job.
So my point is Cleveland should be relevant. I'm not predicting that they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but the first step is to make the playoffs. I really think they should make the playoffs. But we'll look at the NFL, see how it shakes out as training camp unfolds and injuries pile up, and then we'll make our predictions.
If you look at on paper, they do have a significantly improved team. And they're in kind of a, Steelers, you don't know which way they're going to end up, and the Bengals, they're the Bengals, until you get rid of Andy Dalton, you're going to be the Bengals.
They got Kareem Hunt in the offseason who's got to sit for a few games, due to his problems. But this guy is a special talent.
I hate to even admit it, to be honest with you.
But we have to be objective. The guy's been supremely productive.
All right.
I think that's a big loss for the Chiefs. We'll see what Mahomes does. Can he match the ridiculous season that he had? He's such a talented kid.
I don't think that was a fluke.
I don't think so
he
either.
He is that talented.
Right. So there's a ton of storylines we'll cover regarding NFL.
Yep. But like I said, training camp kicks off in about 10 days, and
some a week, some probably 2 weeks away.
the college football season starts pretty soon.
That will be
well.
fast upon us too.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into that in more depth and look at the rankings and but let's
Let me guess who's number one.
well let's
Alabama,
let's
right?
call a spade a spade. It's probably Clemson, Alabama for the 5th consecutive year, right?
Well,
Most likely.
this could be a breakthrough year for Georgia. They've been knocking on the door, and
Yeah,
I really like Kirby Smart a lot. But you're right. Until you can prove you can beat Alabama, you're not gonna play Clemson. Clemson's gonna be there.
Clemson has proven they can beat Alabama. They're the defending champs.
Yeah.
It's going to be Tua's coming back, and this Trevor Lawrence kid at Clemson. He's going to be. He's not eligible for the draft for another year. So
Yep.
those right now on paper, and they reload every year with the recruits. They get the top 5 recruiting class every
They
year.
do. They do.
And then another storyline's Ohio State. Urban's gone. Ryan Day taking over there. Does Michigan now Harbaugh step up and actually do something? And we'll see. So there's a lot to looking forward to talk about.
I got to tell you, I'm so soured on Jim Harbaugh, and I used to really like the guy. I liked him as a player. I loved him at Michigan. He was a quarterback.
Yep.
But as a coach, I don't know that he could take that next step, and I don't know if he's getting the talent that he needs to beat an Ohio State.
To be determined, but he's been on the clock now long enough where
Yep.
there's no excuses.
Nope.
None.
I mean, you go in and get spanked by Ohio State last year,
If Lloyd Carr can win a national championship at Michigan,
I agree.
you would expect Jim Harbaugh should be able to win a national championship.
Yep. I just don't think they have the quarterback to do it. And, unless somebody steps up and takes over. What was the kid's name from last year?
Shea Patterson.
Shea Patterson.
They also got, I think, Dylan McCaffrey, which is Christian's and Ed McCaffrey's son. I think he's on the Michigan roster. He's highly touted. I think Patterson will keep his job this year, but I think this Dylan McCaffrey is going to be a stud.
Well, there's good genes in that family.
Right.
Sure.
Now, Oklahoma, you can't forget about. They get Jalen Hurts running the ship for his senior year.
That's a good replacement.
You know his resume,
Yeah.
and he lost his job to Tua. So, but this guy did nothing but win at Alabama, and he came in the playoff game last year when Tua got hurt,
Yep.
and led him to a victory. So, it'll be another great season of college football.
But let's touch on Notre Dame. I mean, what are your thoughts on them? Where do you see Notre Dame? Is this a make or break year for Brian Kelly?
No,
Because I've been saying that for 3 years. I mean, he's kept his job because he had a great year last year, but came up short in the.
Yeah,
in
I
the
think Brian
BCS.
Kelly. I'm a Brian Kelly fan. He's got a great resume. He had to take a step back about, like you said, maybe 3 years ago. His sideline demeanor and just the way that he was conducting himself.
It was Bobby Knight like.
It was, and I think it impacted the perspective. The perspective of people looking at Notre Dame. And to his credit, he has backed off, and he's coaching more now, like in a teaching mode, and keeping his emotions somewhat in check. Notre Dame had a great year last year. They lost a lot on defense, but their recruits are good. Ian Book is back. He had a great year last year.
Yeah, that was a bold move putting him in there.
No doubt, and it worked. And
it
listen,
worked.
Were they just couldn't. They weren't as good as Clemson. Clemson was just a better team. So they don't play a pansy schedule. So I'm going to say Notre Dame will trip up a couple games this year. I'll be looking for them not to make the playoffs this year.
Ooh.
And I'm a big Notre Dame fan. A lot of people know that as well. I'm just being objective.
All right.
I think their schedule's a little too hard this year, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's just stay with football because and Steve wanted to bring something up. Our alma mater, and we don't make any bones about it. We're St. Joe's guys.
St. Joseph Regional High School. in
Last year's
Montvale,
#1 team in New
Montvale,
Jersey.
New Jersey. So we happened to be at a golf outing for the school for our football alumni guys. It was a great day, and the honoree yesterday was. Now, we just talked about Notre Dame, ironically. So it's Howard Cross, who is a member of the New York Giants for probably 10 years at least.
Yep.
And Howard won the Super Bowl with the Giants in the 90 season or the
91
game.
Super Bowl.
Right. Great guy, got up and spoke. It was very inspirational. His son, Howard Cross Jr., committed to the Irish.
He's going.
And he's going. And he's
going.
And he's going to be an impactful player.
But one thing that was interesting, and preseason polls are just that. They're just, it's just sports writers thinking, that they know. You can't possibly cover high school football like you can the NFL. I mean, there's 5,000 teams across Texas and California, New Jersey, and right. We got Bergen Catholic, Don Bosco, and St. Joe's right here that are just on that kind of national scale. But the preseason, I think it was ESPN poll. St.
Okay.
Joe's
Yeah.
#6 in
Number
the country.
6, yes. Well deserved. Listen, and we're trying to be objective here as former Green Knights.
But I thought, I talked to a lot of people about this yesterday, because we lost some really talented kids. But it's just like Alabama, the talent just keeps coming. And,
Right.
You're the number one team in New Jersey.
Right.
It's appealing.
Right. And the
And-
coach is Augie Hoffman, a former Green Knight. Augie played at Boston College, played with Chris Snee on the same line at BC.
Yep.
Augie played for the New Orleans Saints for maybe 3 years or so.
Yeah.
He's the right man for the job. He is a talented football coach. He's a motivator. He's an educator.
And remember, he was handpicked to take over this program, which is, an esteemed program,
Right.
by the all-time winningest head coach in New Jersey State history,
Right.
Tony Carson. So,
Right.
and he's done nothing but he's got two rings already,
Yep.
right?
So we're going to be bringing that up on the show. We love our high school football.
Yes, we do.
So we just wanted to mention what a great day it was. Great day to see everybody. One of our sponsors was there. Coriano Trucking was there as well.
Yes, he
Great to
was.
see a guy.
So, excellent. So listen, let's move on and talk about our next segment, which is sponsored by D. Filippi's Bakery of Monticello, New York. And, they're one of our newest sponsors, but just as loyal as our other sponsors, and we thank them. And,
Please go if you're up in the Catskills. It's worth the ride. I'm telling you.
it sure is.
Thank you, Carmela, for sponsoring the show.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about baseball, right? Now we're in the second half. Things are starting to open up a little bit. Yankees look great. It was a tough loss last night. And see Travis d'Arnaud hit 3 home runs. He'll never hit 3 home runs in a game in his life again, especially in the bottom of the ninth.
You got that right.
But one thing I did notice, one of the things about Major League Baseball is how things can change and how quickly they can change. And we were talking about, right, the $300 million man in Philadelphia, and looked like things were all going rosy and
Early
now,
on.
but
Now, not so much.
not so much. May 29th, they were 3.5 games up in the East, and now they're 9.5 back.
Right. But you got to attribute that as well to Atlanta playing lights out baseball.
Right.
And we talked about them. It's taken them several years to reload. They had the top form system, and now they're starting to see the fruits of their labor.
They got some good players.
But you're right. When you got a $300 million man and things are going south, and
Can't
it
hit
gets hot,
240.
no, you can't.
I'm sorry.
But
You know.
he's got. Listen, they're stuck with him for a long, long time.
But other things change like so quickly. Like, a month ago, the Anaheim Angels weren't, they were just kind of, they'll be 10 games under 500. Now they're starting to come around. They got the $400 million man
That's right.
who doesn't disappoint one bit.
Nope. He's just got to stay healthy. He can get nicked every now and then. But I also think the Angels are inspired by the loss of Tyler Skaggs, too.
Could be something about it.
They could have a little undue influence on it, but they've been playing good baseball. The Dodgers have not skipped a beat. They are probably considered the best team right now.
Yeah,
in
they seem to be
baseball.
running away with it. I mean, and we just talked about it before the show. It's
I think they're up 15 on Arizona.
to the second place team. That
Right.
means the other teams are 30 behind and already.
Right, and so the
National League West is the weakest division in baseball.
Yeah.
There's no question.
And you highly touted the Twins early in the season, and they're still playing real good baseball.
Hanging
Although
tough.
I also noticed Cleveland sneakily is coming up. Cleveland's like 12 games over.
Yeah.
And they're only 6 back of the Twins. It's a long season. Injuries can happen.
And it's Cleveland, so let's not get our hopes up.
yeah,
that,
but Terry Francona, the Indians have always been consistent in the last 15 years. or
always
so.
a big Francona fan.
Yeah. The Brewers with Yelich, they're 500-ish, maybe 1 or 2 games over.
That's a little surprising
That is,
in the
that's-
National League.
I
to
think
be
so.
honest with you.
Let's not discount the Red Sox. They're starting to get their engine going. They're the defending champions, and I never discount the Boston Red Sox.
Oh, and that Rafael Devers made an unbelievable play at third base yesterday. You got to see it on TV. It It was great. But
And-
yes, they're back. They're back in business.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere.
And we covered the New York Mets over the last couple weeks, so I just want to not just skip over them, but they're languishing. They're still 9 back. They would have to jump like 10 teams or something to even sniff the postseason.
Ain't gonna happen.
And I think they're heading for the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken. So
And they're going to be part of the garage sale because this isn't working for them. But
they're going to be sellers at the market.
No question.
There's no question. So I wouldn't be surprised if they can trade Syndergaard, Zach Wheeler. DeGrom's not going anywhere.
No, you
But
don't
their
trade him.
bullpen is such a disaster. If they can, strike gold and get some solid help there, that's something I would think they would do. They got.
But the Mets traded a Cy Young Award winner the next season in R.J. Dickey. So I mean, don't rule it out if they think they can get something for
They
the
also
future.
traded a Cy Young guy named Tom Seaver way back when too.
Yeah, so
So-
there's a resume there.
But the Mets really, their season either comes to an end in a week or two based on.
I think it's over anyway.
Right,
mean,
I do too.
Wheeler's hurt now anyway, so
Right.
they may take him off the market. So they may have to move Syndergaard.
Right, but Brody's safe, Callaway, and I got to think he'll be gone. Not maybe this season. Again, I predicted All-Star break the way things were going.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if he's going to return. I don't know if he wants to return. I
I'm
don't know if he
saying
wants to
no
work for this
chance
guy.
in hell he's coming back.
Right.
Not after this year.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and of course you got Cano, who's not doing anything.
Oh,
you
God.
overpaid
You're
for him.
stuck
yeah.
with him.
But look, you got Pete Alonso, and you know
That-
what?
Right.
Build around
The
him.
polar bear,
Right,
who literally looks like a polar bear.
he sure does.
In his stature. I was laughing so hard when I finally heard that nickname associated to him.
Yeah, I
So he wins the home run derby, which was fantastic. We talked about it.
Yeah.
But I was crying laughing to myself. I'm like, holy Christ, he looks like a polar bear.
He sure does. And he's a good kid too.
Great kid.
You know.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to watching him.
But if you go around that Mets lineup, there's not much there. I know you like this guy, Rosario, and he's starting to play
He's
better.
still young.
Year by year,
He's still
he's
young.
been getting better.
But he's,
But is he a franchise
We'll
type
see.
guy? I don't think so.
we'll see.
But, um, but listen, this is great down the wire. Second half of the Major League Baseball season is always exciting.
Absolutely.
Things change by the week.
And then once football starts, then you get the playoffs of baseball, World Series. It's
Right.
always great in October and early November as the NFL season's in full swing.
Yep.
So while we stay on baseball, unfortunately, there were some
Well, let's
notable
go into
pass-
our notable passings.
Right.
This is
So
what-
let's just segue to it. So the first one we want to cover is Jim Bouton, former New York Yankee pitcher, who passed away at age 80 last week. Jim Bouton is famous for being the author of a book called
Ball 4.
Ball 4. And I think that came out in 1970, if I
70 or
remember.
71 came
So
out.
Bouton played for the Yankees for 7 years. Journeyman pitcher. He's 62 and 63 career.
Had one great season.
He
though,
did.
but
But
21 games.
But the reason he's notable is he's the one who
broke the code,
broke the code. The what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas code.
right?
And that really, he became somewhat ostracized by
Oh, he
Ma-
was
many-
completely ostracized.
many teammates and Major League Baseball across
Yep.
the board. But he became a local legend too in New Jersey, where we're from. So he would pitch in the Met League, which was a semi-pro league in and around Bergen County and
God.
Passaic County.
Probably pitched till he was 50 in
He
the
did.
Met League.
There's no
you know?
question about it.
Yeah.
So he loved baseball. He's one of the characters of baseball in the history of baseball. So we just wanted to throw a notable passing out to the family of Jim Bouton.
Yeah, and listen, while we're talking about notable passings, we have to notice that we'll be talking about it probably next week because Bob Gibson is in failing health, to say the least.
Yes, and unfortunately, we got word Bob Gibson has pancreatic cancer at age 83,
Yeah.
and of all the cancers, that's not a real good one to have. Bob Gibson is perhaps his resume is so outstanding. I can't even tell you. I mean, what a warrior, competitor. I mean, if you pissed him off, or you try to one up him, you were gonna get one right between your back.
He made no bones about it too. I mean,
His resume he's a bona fide Hall of Fame pitcher.
no question about it.
He had 251 wins, which I thought was a little low.
I do too,
Right?
actually. You sure that
Yeah.
251?
Yeah.
I would have had him pegged at least 290 or something.
Yeah,
you know?
251, but his career earned run average is 2.91.
That's unheard of in Major League Baseball.
And also in the '68 season that he won the MVP that year, he was just unhittable. His earned run that year, if I remember, was 1.12. I mean, unhittable.
And you know what I find the most interesting thing about Bob Gibson is they lowered the mound because he was so dominant.
It was
And that literally is the reason that
well, they lowered the mound, and it didn't stop him. He was a 9-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, 2 Cy Young Awards, 1968 MVP.
Yep.
Pitched a no-hitter in 1971. So
Ah,
we wanted to just acknowledge Bob Gibson. He is made like the All-Century team, just
absolutely.
and a class guy too. Very, very classy guy.
Off the field.
And right.
But on the
On-
field, he was as ferocious as you could get.
Absolutely.
How he wasn't a football player, I'll never know. But
He
was
may
so
have
good.
in his youth. But on the notable passings too, for our Jet fans out there, Walt Michaels, former head coach of the New York Football Jets, passed away at age 89. And all our Jet fans, I'm sure, remember the 1982 Mud Bowl in Miami, Florida.
He was the head coach.
That's
Huh?
right.
Yeah.
And, we wanted to make mention of that. He's also notable for being the defensive coordinator on the Jets Super Bowl III team.
Shut down the 19-point favorite Baltimore Colts.
That is correct.
Right.
So Walt was beloved by his players. Saw an interview with Greg Buttle, who was one of linebacker for the Jets, and we watched Greg Buttle play at Penn State when
yeah.
we were kids, and he couldn't have spoke more highly of Walt Michaels. He was real beloved by his players and everybody in the NFL.
Yeah, he gets kind of forgotten in Jets, in Jets speak kind of thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? And he was a hell of a football player too. I think he might have played for the Giants. I correct me if I'm wrong via our email, but he was known as a real solid player.
No,
too.
absolutely. So, Walt Michaels,
89.
R.I.P.
Yep.
And then, it's unfortunate, but we got word yesterday, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker
Yep.
gets hit by a car in Virginia Beach
Well,
and passes away at the age of 55. When I tell you he was one of my favorite boxers, he was a great boxer.
he had lightning fast hands.
1984 Olympic champ.
Too. Yep.
I remember the fight he had against Julio Cesar Chavez, and Chavez comes in as undefeated and the Mexican legend. And when I tell you Pernell beat him, he beat him and beat him convincingly.
Yep.
And of course, he gets the victory taken away from him by, let's just say, some corrupt judging, right? But the point is, he was a 4-time world champ, different weight classes. I don't know what to say. I was kind of a little stunned by that,
Yeah.
and we just wanted to make mention of Pernell.
Well, and we
Sweet Pea.
talked about it before, like, what was he,
5.
55? I had him, I mistook him for, I think, a Davy Armstrong in the 76, because I think the 76 Olympic U.S. team was loaded, right? It was
Yeah.
Bolt Spinks's, it
Sugar
was
Ray.
Howard Davis, it was Sugar Ray Leonard, it
Yep.
was,
Yeah.
but I mistook him, he was 84, that's why I was
Yep.
caught off guard, he was only 55.
Yeah. So
Good boxer.
that was it as
Good
far as
boxer.
our notable passings.
Yep.
And
Look, before we sign off, I want to give a shout out and somebody we saw yesterday, and he's been a big fan of our show, Alan Gavin,
Gigs, Alan Gavin.
also known as Giggs, former teammate of ours,
That
but
is
now
correct.
a assistant coach on the #1 team in New Jersey.
And the #6 nationally ranked Green Knights.
Yep. And he's given us a lot of great feedback on the show, and,
Yeah.
and he really enjoys it. And Alan, Giggs, thank you.
Thanks, Gags. Really appreciate it.
So listen, let's wrap up and just say thank you again, everybody, for joining the show and listening to our show and supporting our show. And we're going to have just as much to talk about next week. And enjoy the British Open, also known as the Open Championship.
Right?
And
Stay cool.
yeah, it's been hot on the Northeast here.
Yes, it has.
But thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll catch up to you next week.
Bye-bye, everybody.